going? I'm cheesing so hard because I'm so freaking proud of myself for that intro video. I
fucking good. That was really good. Loved it.
I happen to have some footage of when Olivia interviewed me on Premier League today. So stuck that in a video, got the song going. I was so happy. I was working on it right before this. I was like, I need to do this for this week's episode. So I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. So Liv, how's it going?
Yeah, all good, all good. I'm nervous about this game week. I was nervous about the last game week as well, to be fair. Not having Harry Kane killed me a little bit, but you know, I'm good. Work's been good. Interviewed Tuchel earlier, which was also good. So yeah, all good. I think I said good about 85 times there.
But it's good that you're good. And yeah, I wanted to ask you how you did last week. I got 71 points, so I wasn't like that bad. I was above average, but not great.
I only got 62 points. It's because I couldn't, I'm struggling with what to do with my team now. And I look at it and this is the thing, I'm struggling with what to do. So I'm not making any changes because I'm saving my transfers for next week. And I'm going to do my 2 free ones and then probably another one. But I had Gundogan captain, which was fine. Watkins and Bamford, I'm not quite sure about, but I'm going to hold out because they both got a fixture in 29. So you can't afford to really be getting rid of them at this stage. But yeah, no, it was an okay week. I've had better and I'll have worse. But yeah, it was average.
No, I'm literally in the same boat as well because I also have Bamford and Watkins. And I really don't want both of them, but I have both of them for next week.
Yeah.
And I also had 2 City defenders and they didn't keep a clean sheet in either of their double fixtures. So that kind of like screwed me as well.
Same, but this is the problem, right? I'm sticking with them and I will probably get rid of one of them for game week 29, but for this game week, Fulham away, I know Fulham are in good form, but I just think there's a chance that not both of them will play, but I'll make sure I have a good first sub on my bench so that it's not too big of a deal if say Stones or DS don't play. But I'm planning on keeping them. Are you going to bench one of them? Are you going to keep both of yours? What are your plans?
Well, I actually think I'm going to take out Cancelo, I think, for Cresswell, because Cresswell is also playing in game week 29. And I had Cresswell and I took him out because of I thought that West Ham really didn't have good fixtures and I didn't see them really keeping a lot of clean sheets. But he has been playing really well. And I think they kept a clean sheet last week as well against Leeds. Yeah. I love my Leeds players. So I think that I'm probably going to keep just Diaz. And then my goal is to have Rudiger, Cresswell, and Diaz as like my back three.
Yeah. I think I have Stones and Diaz, and if I get rid of one of them, even though he's cheaper, I'll be getting rid of Stones just because Diaz seems to be the only Man City defender that you can guarantee is going to start every single week. And even if he's not, he's definitely less rotation. He's more rotation proof than Stones and Cancelo. And with someone like Cancelo, I think you can get, like Cresswell is probably the perfect replacement, cheaper as well, I think.
Yeah.
And you get more attacking returns and you'll probably end up getting more clean sheets just because Cancelo isn't in the City team 24/7. You know, he's one of those that's always rotated. So yeah, I think that's a really good move.
Nice. Okay, so one of my moves done. The second big move that I want to talk about, I know a lot of people have questions about this. We've talked about this in the past couple of episodes, but what are you going to do with Mohamed Salah?
Oh, gosh, this is like such a hard decision because I was thinking of making the move for Son to Kane, but I'm not going to do it yet. Salah doesn't have a fixture in game week 29, so that will be one of my transfers if Salah blanks against Wolves. However, if Salah then scores a couple against Wolves or has a good game, then I'm stuck because I won't know what to do, and that'll be a case of not having Kane for blank game week 29, which I don't really think is a good idea. So part of me is hoping that Salah just blanks, because then my decision's made easy. And I've had Salah pretty much. I didn't have him at the start. I had Jota, and then Josh got injured, so I put Salah in. And I think you can only give someone so much time, and I know he's 12. He's by far the most expensive player in the game, and he's the most transferred out player this week. And you can't blame people, because he's not returning. He's not the Salah of old. Something's not quite right. But then again, he did look good, and Liverpool looked good against Leipzig in the Champions League. So that's why I'm holding out for one more week. Wolves are up and down. You don't know what you're going to get. I think this is a good fixture for Liverpool. So I'm holding off. But what are you going to do?
Interesting. I think I'm going to transfer him out. I just feel like I've been holding off on doing it for so long, and I could have had so many more points in blanking, and then that kind of makes up for the fact that if he does have a really good game week, you already like had weeks where you made up for it with those other players. So I'm actually between transferring him out for either De Bruyne or Bale. I already have Kane and Son in my team, so I really don't want to triple up on top players, but they do have that game week. So then I was thinking, I kind of like the look of Bale better than Son right now. And I saw somebody tweet, like really funny, it's like Bale and Kane is the new Kane and Son. No.
I think with that, I think you don't want to triple up on Spurs, because you don't know which Spurs you're going to get. Still to this day, you don't know whether you're going to get the Spurs that, anything can happen in a North London derby. I think Kane is a banker for the North London derby. That's why part of me is annoyed that I don't have the balls to just do Salah to Kane now. Because I think he always scores. He's got like an 11 of the 12 North London derbies he's played in. So he loves that fixture. And if I had him, I'd probably be looking to captain him as well. But I'm not sure how long this Bale-Kane thing is going to last, just purely for the fact they're in the last stages of the Europa League, or they're going to get through. They obviously won last night. Bale's not going to be playing every single game. At times, it's going to be Bale and Son that get the points. A couple of times, it's going to be Bale and Kane that gets the points. Other times, it's going to be Kane and Son that gets the points. You just aren't guaranteed. But I can understand people going for Bale, because even if it's just a short-term fix, you can take out Salah, put Bale in, and then you've got like 2 or 3 mil to even play with. And then if you want to take Bale out, you can put them pretty much any other midfielder, if you've already got Bruno, that you want. So I think it's a good move. I just don't know. I think you've just got to accept that there are going to be, unless you do triple up, there are going to be times where 2 of them blank, or 1 of them blanks, and the other 2 are the ones that gets the point. So it's a really difficult. I'm not making that move for Bale, but I know a lot of people are.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's been really impressive with him, is just the fact, I have it here, that he has 4 goals and 2 assists in the last 5 games for Spurs, and 2 double-digit hauls. So I do think that he could be potentially a good option. But I would probably replace Son with Bale. I wouldn't want to have both of them. So I'm kind of like still thinking about that. I also think De Bruyne plays Fulham this week. Like City play Fulham, so De Bruyne could be a good shout as well. And I'm thinking of just doing a transfer for De Bruyne to Salah, from Salah to De Bruyne.
The only thing with De Bruyne is that if you look at his returns this season, they haven't actually been that good. And part of that is down to his teammates not being able to finish. Because if he had someone like a Harry Kane in his team, or they had a striker that's been scoring, he would have so many more points than he does. He obviously had a good week last week. Fulham at home, I think, is going to be a really tough game. I don't think it's going to be easy. It's quite a small pitch as well. I would give De Bruyne. I mean, personally, this is why I'm not looking to get De Bruyne in. One, because I've already got Gundogan. He does seem to be playing a little bit further back now that De Bruyne is in the team, but obviously he still scored against Southampton, so that was good. And that's why I'm keeping him. But I would give De Bruyne, maybe personally, I would look at De Bruyne maybe in a couple of games' time. But also, he was sort of that one player that Pep was never going to rotate. And now, seeing how well they did without him, I think if it gets to the latter stages of the Champions League, like they probably will, City, is De Bruyne going to be playing every Premier League game? This is the issue when it gets to this stage of the season. All the big teams that are in the big competitions and are going for those competitions, City's priority, the league is going to be wrapped up. City's priority is going to be the Champions League. So is De Bruyne going to be playing every game in the Premier League when they've already won the league and they're going for the Champions League? I really don't know. So Pep's bloody rotation merry-go-round is so hard to predict. And I do like De Bruyne. I've always had De Bruyne on my team. He's always been one of these players I had. But I think I'm going to give him a few more games to then see. But then rotation could come into it as well. So it's just really, really tough. I think if I was you, you've got to go on form, I think. I think you, without looking at the fixtures too much, just go with the player that you think is in the better form, because it's always form over fixtures.
Yeah, so I don't know who's in better form. I just don't want to have the 3 Tottenham players, and that's like
it's a lot as a Chelsea fan to be tripling up on Spurs.
Yeah. And I wanted to get Mountain as well, but then Chelsea don't play in game week 29, so I was like, I'll wait probably like the week like till game week 30 to transfer him in as well. But the other thing I was thinking about with De Bruyne is he only has like 18% ownership, so if he does do really well, it could be like a pretty good differential.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know whether I'm going to put him in. I'm looking at, I know I keep saying form over fixtures, and depending on how Mason Mount plays, he got rested against Everton. I fully expect him to play against Leeds, and we know how those Leeds games go, very open. We should create loads of chances. We had over 20 at Stamford Bridge. So De Bruyne is expensive. So if you're looking for like a slightly cheaper midfield option, Chelsea's fixtures are unbelievable. Obviously you've got to take form into it, but after Atletico Madrid in the Champions League and after Leeds, I think we've got West Brom, Palace, Sheffield United in there, and then we've got quite a difficult end last couple of games. So like you said about Rudiger early in the season, I think if you're going to look to put Chelsea players in, Rudiger would be one. Christensen at the moment, Azpilicueta seems to be the one that never gets rotated. You always think the wing backs that get rotated, and Rudiger even got rested for Everton. So it's hard to pick at the moment, especially Chelsea and Man City assets. I think they're the 2 managers that rotate the most.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict what Tuchel or Pep Guardiola is going to do. Rather you than me, I think I'm just going to stay away for the time being. I don't want to make that decision.
That's what I was going to say, because I thought that Mount and Rudiger were 2 of the players that were safest from Tuchel roulette and getting like rested or benched, so to speak. And then when they got benched versus Everton, I was like, oh my God, this has made me question everything for my fantasy team. I do like the look of Azpilicueta, like you said, because I do think like he's one of the ones who, I think he's played every single game under Tuchel in the Premier League. He is like a little bit more expensive though. I think he's like 5.7 or something like that versus pound, like 4.6 or something around there. So I don't know. So it's going to be an interesting one, but like you said, I think with Chelsea's fixtures, Chelsea have been keeping so many clean sheets as well, and their defensive record has been so good. With the games that are coming up, I definitely want to try to get a Chelsea defender in there. It's just a matter of which one.
I think that's the case for most people. I think the defensive record is too good to ignore. You don't really want Mendy because he hasn't been making that many saves, so it's sort of just a 6-pointer, whereas Azpilicueta bombs on, so does Rudiger, and you've got real attacking threat there as well. So that's hard. I am struggling with one thing this week, and that is who to captain, Ellie. I had one player that was like my gut, and I'm probably going to go with him, but that's just because he was my gut when I first looked at the fixtures, and I'm actually ignoring form over fixtures here because he's not in good form.
Who is it?
Only at home, and it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I think that's the sort of game that he's very good in the air. He loves a bit of a physical battle, doesn't he, Dominic Calvert-Lewin? And he has missed a few chances over the last few weeks. I think that's a little bit risky, but it was either him or Bruno. They were the 2 I was sort of looking through. If I had Kane, I'd be going Kane. What are you thinking?
So I don't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I actually transferred him out like a week or 2 ago, and I was thinking of trying to get Richarlison in because he's been in better form than Calvert-Lewin has. He scored in like the last 4 out of 5 games. I think the only game he didn't score was Chelsea, which I'm happy about. So But I just don't have enough I don't have enough money for him right now. And so I need to like sort that out. So I do have Harry Kane. So I think I'm probably gonna go for Kane. He had like a minor knee niggle.
I do not believe any of that. He will be playing on Sunday. I don't think there's any doubt ever that he will be starting in the North London derby. And even so, I think make sure you have a good vice just in case, so whoever you were thinking of captaining sort of instead of Kane or alongside sort of Kane, definitely put them as your vice, because you just never know. But I think he'll be fine. He's definitely going to start.
Yeah, so I was between Kane and Gundogan with Fulham, or if I transfer in Kevin De Bruyne, then I was thinking about him. I also have Fernandes, but they're playing West Ham, and I don't think that Fernandes has been getting he hasn't looked fantastic. I feel like we know that he's still capable of getting a goal contribution. He's on penalties as well. But I think West Ham has also been playing pretty well, and they've been keeping a lot of clean sheets. And I feel like maybe after that City win, they have a little bit more confidence going into the game. But I'm not feeling too high on him.
They obviously, I don't know. I don't think did Bruno play yesterday? I watched part of the Milan game. And they were lucky in that game, I thought. And I know he made quite a few changes, but I thought, they could have easily lost that game by quite a few. With Bruno, like we've always said, he's one of these players that, even if Man United play badly, he seems to get points. And yeah, I think he returned in the West Ham game last season. It was earlier in the season. It was the one where he didn't start. Man United were below par, like really bad. Then they brought him on and they won the game. So I think I think he's always a good captain pick, Bruno, because he's on penalties. Man United get a lot of penalties, and actually he got the assist for Diallo's goal yesterday, so he did play, and it was a brilliant assist as well. So I can't believe so many people transferred out Bruno or put him on their bench. I just I don't have I wish I was more brave, really. I wish I was more ballsy, because I cannot bench. I won't bench Salah. I won't bench Bruno. They're the two players that I will just not bench. If I've got them in my team, they're playing. I did bench Son against Chelsea, a few weeks back, and that was like the biggest risk I've ever taken. I was like, please just keep a clean sheet, and they did, obviously, which was great. I just benching big players is not for me. Is it for you? Because it's definitely not for me. I don't have the balls to do.
No, I don't bench them though. The closest I'm coming is transferring out Salah, which I've been thinking about doing for weeks and weeks. Yeah. And then I feel like whenever I transfer him out, he starts scoring, and then it's like, do I really want Liverpool to start playing well if I transfer out?
I think this is the only thing about Liverpool is they did actually play really well, and it makes me, Fabinho in midfield, I think makes such a difference to just their defense is still a little bit obviously iffy with the youngsters that are playing, but with Salah, you don't need a clean sheet. You get an extra point for a clean sheet, but that's not why you've got Salah in your team. And I think having Fabinho in midfield may have a positive effect on Salah. But then you obviously look at the first Leipzig game, they won that, and then they lost to Everton, and then they lost to Chelsea. Yeah. So I think it could go one of two ways. Liverpool could really build on this, getting through to the quarterfinals, or they just don't. But I don't think they're at Anfield, are they? Which could play. Yeah, they're away. They've got 2 away games in a row. Now we know how much Salah loves a goal against Arsenal as well, and that's their next fixture after the blank Gameweek 29, which obviously they don't play in. They've got Arsenal, and part of me wants Salah for that game. Just such a hard decision.
So hard, because I was thinking after they got the first one against Leipzig in the Champions League, I was like, okay, they got to win. They're going to start moving off of this. But their form in the Premier League has just been so shocking, losing they lost Fulham, Brighton, Chelsea, Everton, I think Man City. And I think they have 6 out of 7 losses recently, 4 out of 5 in their last 5 games, 6 out of 7 if you look back. Their form has just been so bad. So I really don't know. I really don't know what to do. But I just feel like it's time. I don't know. I feel like it's so much.
If it's your gut, go with it. That's what I do. My gut was to captain Ollie Watkins a few weeks ago against Arsenal. My gut was to captain Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I feel like if you sit there and think too much about it, you'll convince yourself out of the decision. Whereas I feel like you've been thinking about it for so long that you've just got to do it. You've got to make the move. And, you know, this is the thing. You've always got, like, wait, because you're taking Salah out and you might have money in the bank or whatever, but whoever you put in isn't going to be as much as Salah. So if you want to then put him back in, but if obviously price rises change, or you might then not be able to if you've got like 0.1 in the bank or whatever, but there is probably a way that you can get Salah back in if you wanted him that badly. Like if he suddenly goes on this mad run of form, there's always ways of getting him back in. But I think if you're really thinking about doing it, then you just, this game week, you've just got to do it.
I think I'm going to do it. I don't know who.
I'm convincing you to make a decision that I can't make myself. So
let's see how it goes, right? Because if he goes on to score, everybody's going to blame me for transferring him out of my team, because I have this jinx. I was like, whenever I put a player in, they don't perform, and then whenever I transfer them out, they start performing for something. So let's see how it goes. I really need to think about who to do it for. I don't know.
It's a bigger decision, isn't it? Like, you're taking out someone like Mo Salah, so you've got to put someone in that, you know. That's why I think it's risky with Bale, because he's not guaranteed to start every single week. And if you're going to take out Mo Salah, who starts every single week, for that money, you want to put someone in that's guaranteed a start. And this is the problem with all the big money assets, bar Bruno Fernandes. You know, the other ones are Mane. You're not going to take out Salah and put in Mane, are you? Like, you've got to try and find someone that you think is going to start every single game. But all those premium sort of, you know, you're not going to put in any more of those premium midfielders, are you? You're going to look to go elsewhere.
Let's see. I have a screenshot of something that I was thinking about doing. I'm just looking at it. Oh, I could get in De Bruyne, and I could get in instead of Ollie Watkins, I can get in Calvert-Lewin. That's something else that I can do. So I really need to think about it. I don't know, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think that I should do. I'm literally going back and forth. If you guys want advice specifically to your teams, let us know and we can try to speak on it. We do have one question from David. He said, I'm thinking of taking out De Bruyne and putting in Kane, and then taking out Davis and putting in Saka. What do you think?
Yeah, I think De Bruyne and Kane, I think that's a no-brainer. I think Kane seems to be getting points. I think he's only second to Bruno Fernandes now in like the overall FPL rankings. He scored 2 again in midweek. I know he had he came off with ice on his knee, but it's the North London derby. I don't think he's missing that for anything. And definitely Saka. He was one of the ones that when I put in Jesse Lingard, I was thinking about putting in Saka as well, especially because they have a fixture. But Jesse Lingard also has a fixture in game week 29. Which he can play, and obviously he can't play this weekend, so he's on my bench. But Saka's a good shout. I wouldn't go for really any of those other Arsenal players, because again, Williams rotated, Pepe's rotated, Aubameyang's rotated, Lacazette's rotated, and you're not going to be going and spending 12 million or 10 million on Aubameyang. So I think Saka's a good shout. Didn't do much in against Burnley, but I think he's Arsenal's best player. He's been Arsenal's best player this season. And for that game week 29 fixture, I reckon he's a decent enough shout for that fixture. So yeah, I think those two subs, if you look at your team, you're much better off with Kane in your team than without. This is coming from a non-Kane owner who will try and get Kane in at some point, especially for game week 29. But I think if you just look at that, De Bruyne, Kane, Saka, David, I think it's a no-brainer.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that could be a good shout. Now I'm questioning transferring in De Bruyne into my team.
That's only because you've already got Kane. So do you know what I mean? If you had it to get Kane in, you need to sacrifice someone big, or you need to make 3 or 4 changes. You can't just take out someone rubbish and put in Kane. So if that would be me, my Salah would be that guy's De Bruyne. He's taking out De Bruyne and I'm going to take out Salah, but that doesn't necessarily mean no one's going to be putting in Kevin De Bruyne, especially because he was back amongst the goals and assists against Southampton. So yeah, De Bruyne has been frustrating, but it's more down to his teammates rather than him. But he's always a good shout, De Bruyne. I don't think he'll be on penalties again, which is mad, but it's just rotation with KDB.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments. Yusuf goes, I got the most points in my whole FPL career. I got over 100 points. Congrats.
Well
That's
done.
insane.
I did really rubbish this week, so fair play for getting over 100 points. I feel like that whenever I get over 100 points, doesn't happen often. Happened in the double game week a couple of weeks ago, and I got like I think I got the most I've ever got. It was like 140 or 150 points, and I was like, yeah, I somehow did, yeah, and that's the most I've ever got. I think it was like 140. But yeah, that was really good. And I'm always like buzzing whenever I get over 100 points because it happens once a season, if that. So yeah, fair play. In a season where the average was only about 60, so you must have smashed it.
Yeah, that's insane. I think the best I've ever done was like 95. I've never gotten over.
Never hit 100.
Points. Never, not yet.
It'll happen.
I started FPL really badly because it's my first season. And I had a lot of Chelsea assets, and I had Christian Pulisic. He didn't start this season. He was injured. I have Havertz and Werner. They didn't have a good start to this season either. So it was a rough start for me trying to sort out my team after making so many mistakes.
Yeah, it's hard.
We have a question from Krishna, and they ask, best game week to wild card.
I think that's hard because a lot of people will have already used their wildcards now. I would say it's not necessarily the best game week to wildcard. If you're unhappy with 4 or 5 of your players, then just use it. You don't want to wait until you have an awful week to then use your wildcard. You know, you don't want to have to be like, oh, I've only got like 40 points, 30 points. I need to change 5 players. If you look at your team and you're happy with it, just leave it. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't wildcard for the blank game week 29 just to get in loads of players from those teams because you won't want all of them going forward. You'll want the Kanes and the Sons and the Martinez for Aston Villa, but you won't want Newcastle, Brighton, like all those players going forward. So I wouldn't wildcard for game week 29. Obviously, if you've got your free hit, you can still do that, but I think that's more suited. But wildcards are so personal. I just think whenever you want to use it, just use it. Look at your team, and there's no specific game week. I know there will be double game weeks coming up. They won't be any massive ones anymore. It'll be the teams, you know, none of the teams that are playing next week is the FA Cups. That's Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. I don't know why Liverpool haven't got a game actually, because there must have been someone they were playing is in the FA Cup. So yeah, all of those big teams that haven't got a game will then have a double game week somewhere later down the line. So that could be a potential like game week to use it for if you want to get in more double game week players, because there'll also be players you want going forward. But yeah, I just think whenever if you just look at your team and you're feeling unhappy with it, don't go with what everyone else is doing. It's always up to you. And yeah, I don't think there's any specific game week to wildcard in. I think it's just a case of, you know, if you dislike a few players in your team and you want to change them.
Yeah, definitely. I think also like if the players that you have in your team are just really out of form for whatever reason, it could be a good time. I'm looking at the fixtures, and game week 33 right now, there's only 16 teams playing instead of 20. It looks like City don't play in that game week, and I think there's a couple of other teams I can't figure it out right now, but you might want to keep your eye on that game week to see to try to get as many players as possible who are playing in that game week, because there are a couple of teams that aren't playing. So just look at the fixtures proactively. I try to look at the next like 3 or so fixtures before transferring in a player. And if you think that team has like really difficult fixtures as well and you want to transfer it out, could be a good option as well. Corey asks a really interesting question. Says, who do you think are the best differential attackers if you need to make up some ground?
Do you know, I think forwards in FPL this season have been, you know, Ollie Watkins has been up and down. Patrick Bamford's been up and down. I'm actually considering benching Patrick Bamford for this game week. But there's not really many budget, you know, solid. Those were the two, weren't they? Patrick Bamford and Michael Antonio. You could be looking at, you know, West Ham have a game week 29. They've been really good. I would bet against them doing well again. I would bet like them doing well against Man United as well. Richarlison's 8 mil. This is the thing, like, you know, you look at them there. Giroud doesn't start. Callum Wilson would have been a good one. He's out. So Watkins at 6.6 and Bamford at 6.8 are really your only two, you know, budget options. You're not going to go with someone like Diagne at West Brom, even though, you know, he's been good. And if anyone's going to score the goals for him, it's probably going to be him. But it's been really hard. And I don't think, you know, Jordan Ayew's 5.6, but no one that's really jumping out that's, you know, playing consistently, returning consistently. Ollie Watkins and Patrick Bamford are the two I would say. everyone else gets rotated. So it's that's been really hard this season. It feels like all the solid players, bar obviously Kane, are midfielders. So attackers have been, the forwards have been really, really difficult to pick. And the problem is with, making up some ground is that a lot of people have Ollie Watkins and a lot of people have Patrick Bamford, but because they're the only option. So it's really like if you can go rogue and go maybe Richarlison, who's had a good few game weeks. I'm looking down there and there's no one that stands out to me really. Like Chris Wood, I wouldn't go for. Neil Mopai, he gets benched a lot. And there's no
I think has
Josh Madger at Fulham. You could maybe opt for him. He's only 5.5 million, but then again, it's Fulham. You don't know what you're going to get. They got Man City on the weekend. They have got a game, I think, in game week 29. They play Leeds. So, someone like maybe a Fulham player. But it's really hard. I think forwards this season have been really hard to come by. And if you're going to make up some ground, you're going to need to go so rogue because Watkins and Bamford aren't going to make you up any ground.
Yeah, I have Rafinha in my team. He's not a forward. He is a midfielder. I'm just looking up like his info now. So he was scoring and assisting a lot, and now it's kind of dried up. 5 goals and 6 assists, but only 1 goal in his last 5 games. Yeah. So I think I'm going to transfer him out as well. Gundogan was a really good differential, but then everybody caught on to that one as well. And he was really deep. He was like a cheat code for a couple of weeks. I had him like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, before everybody started transferring him in. And that was a good differential. But I think like people, like a lot of players just haven't been playing that well. Like Mohamed Salah, who you expect to be contributing almost week in, week out, he hasn't been playing well. Even Bruno has been a little bit up and down, and it's been like a really, really weird season.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody goes, I need midfield advice. It's not returning at all.
I mean, there's so many midfielders to choose from, isn't there? I think my midfield is Bruno, Salah, Son. I think Lingard's a really good option, by the way. I know he missed that penalty and he's not going to be on penalties going forward because of that, which is very frustrating. But I think Lingard's a really good option. This is the problem, is that everyone gets rotated. And so you've got to be looking for those, those midfielders like Rafinha in those lesser teams that are going to play every single game. Zaha's back. You could go for Wilfried Zaha, 7.1 million. He's only in 8% of teams. Someone like Mason Mount as well.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, someone like Mason Mount. Like, I know he got rested against Everton, but part of me thinks he's not going to be rested going forward because he's obviously can't play in the second leg of the Champions League. So that then frees him up for the Premier League games either side of that game for him to get a bit of a rest. I think also someone could be a good shout is Diogo Jota. Now, he's back. So he's back. He obviously played through the middle against Leipzig, and I thought Liverpool's attack looked really good against Leipzig. He is only 6.6 million, and I had him in my team at the start, and he was obviously banging in goals left, right, and centre. So that's just a case of maybe if he can nail down a place in that Liverpool starting 11, that Jota could really be one to consider. Apart from that, Foden. He should play every game, Phil Foden. He should do, but he doesn't. And like other players, get rotated so much. Like you look at Grealish. When Grealish is going to be back, he could be a great option because a lot of people have transferred out Jack Grealish. But then again, you don't know when he's going to be back, so that's also tough. So it's good. I would say Jota and Lingard are probably my 2 picks for like midfielders that aren't in that many teams. Slight differentials, but also. The only thing with Jota is he doesn't have a fixture in game week 29, but Lingard was my one, and I've stuck by him, and he obviously got me points on the weekend. So
I know. I remember you saying that. You were like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I should transfer in Lingard," and then it worked out. Maybe I should transfer him. There's just
a good shout. It seems like he's going to play every single week as well.
Yeah, and he's had a like banging start to his career at West Ham. So very, very cool. All right, guys. Well, I think that basically sums up everything that you need to know. I am still kind of have the cogs turning about which transfers I want to make for this game week. Hopefully it will work out. But Liv, always so much fun chatting FPL with you. And yeah, I guess everybody knows where to find you. But if they happen to not,
yeah, I'm at Olivia Buzaglo on Twitter. If you want to come find me, I'm not as active as someone like Ellie, who's great and does videos and stuff. But I'll tweet the the occasional thing about Chelsea and stuff. So yeah, if you want to come find me, that's where I'll be. And FPL tips every day. So
awesome. Yeah, I put your Twitter in the description. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful. Leave a comment if you have any tips that you want, like any questions that you want us to take a look at, specific team selection and all of that. I really enjoy it. And yeah, until next time, I'm out.